Welcome back to our journey through the story of Jesus as told by Jesus' apostle Matthew, the former tax collector who became an apostle and now, late in life, becomes a gospel writer. Matthew chapter 21 and verses 8 to 11. I'm going to be reading from Eugene Peterson's The Message. Nearly all the people in the crowd threw their garments down on the road, giving him a royal welcome. Others cut branches from trees and threw them down as a welcome mat. Crowds went ahead and crowds followed, all of them calling out, Hosanna to David's son. Blessed is he who comes in God's name. Hosanna in highest heaven. As he made his entrance into Jerusalem, the whole city was shaken, unnerved. People were asking, what is going on here? Who is this? The parade crowd answered, this is the prophet Jesus, the one from Nazareth in Galilee. Now, when I approach Palm Sunday, this is how I do it. I think of Palm Sunday and Good Friday as two bookends. So picture them as two parts that need to be held together. Now, I mean, obviously, if you think of bookends, you understand that if you have a shelf in the corner of your, say, living room, you don't need a bookend necessarily on the one end because you got the wall there. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about one of those shelves on the middle of a wall where if you don't have two bookshelves, what happens? You have a complete and total mess as things fall off the shelf. You see, the two events, Good Friday and Palm Sunday, form one unit in the same way that two bookends are one unit. You see, I do not think you can understand Palm Sunday apart from Good Friday, and I do not think you can understand Good Friday unless you see it in light of Palm Sunday. You see, Palm Sunday has to be seen as a failure. If it had been a success, there would have been no need for Good Friday. So Palm Sunday, in spite of all that we get out of the atmosphere and stuff, understand that this event has to be seen primarily as a failure. Now, if you want to ruin the work of the church and the practice of ministry, then you invest in and buy into the categories of success and failure. Success and failure, we could call them bookends. They are two parts of one unit. In North American culture, success is one of the great idols of the day. There are so many ways you can achieve success. There's a Hall of Fame for this and a Hall of Fame for that. We think of pro sports Hall of Fame, such as football in Canton, Ohio. We can think of baseball in Cooperstown. We can think of the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. We can think of a bowling Hall of Fame. We can think of this and that. There's all sorts of Halls of Fames. And then there are all sorts of award shows from your local Chamber of Commerce all the way up to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science, or as we call it, the Oscars. Then there are those honorary honors. You know, it could be an academic degree. Universities give these out. You are a great patron of the university. You give a building, you do this or that for them, we will give you a doctorate. Or you can think of honorary citizenship, or you are given the keys to the city. Then there are those national honors. Think in terms of Great Britain, peerage. You become Sir this or Lady that, for example. In Canada, there's the Order of Canada. In the United States, there's a Presidential Medal of Freedom. The point is there's a lot out there that can be aspired to, which then can validate your life or career as successful. The problem with success is that it uses suspect categories. When you look at the first Palm Sunday, it was a nice little parade and not much more than that. The last statement is harsh but fair if you judge Palm Sunday on the success versus failure measure. The Christian life, of course, is not based on the same metric. The Christian life is about obedience versus rebellion. Jesus on that Palm Sunday was obedient to what he had to do. The disciples around him were obedient to what they had to do. The people of Jerusalem, they asked, "Who is this?" Verse 10. They had questions, but not much more. Good Friday makes it perfectly clear that the people in Jerusalem had no use for Jesus, or what we can call rebellion. It can be pretty difficult for people of faith and the church to break away from the metric of success versus failure. We are all, whether we think it or not, think of it this way or not, prisoners of our culture. We as a result seek to make the faith in the image of our culture, whereas we need to be influencing and shaping our culture by our faith. Now, this is an absolutely massive point. We have to learn to see our culture by our faith. The reality is the church goes off the rails because so often in every day and age, we reinvent and remake and recast the church in light of our culture, our theology, our practice, our goals, our ambitions. No, we must view our culture through our faith and must come to see the faith by way of the faith. We need to be people of faith and commitment, even if it leads to failure. Jesus was no less a king when he rode into Jerusalem and was not recognized as such. Jesus was no less the King of Kings when he was crucified on Good Friday. We can be obsessed with the results. The life of faith does not worry about the results. The life of faith knows if God has called me here and I have gone there, then it'll be fine, even if they crucify me.